Hello, everyone. Welcome to Podtoid. We are your host. I am CJ.
I'm Dan.
I'm Occams.
And this is episode 385. It is great to be back. Once again, we are without Chris. He is still out sick. I did talk to him over video chat the other day, and he looks like he's doing better. His head did spin around a few times, and green vomit flew out. But besides that, it does seem like he'll be ready for us next week. So that's good. How's your guys' week been?
Yeah, video games have happened in ways that they shouldn't, but they've happened.
Yeah. Occams, what about you?
It's been a good week for video games.
It has. And a great week for news. I mean, after last week when there was we were just starving for content, this week has been basically a smorgasbord. So much stuff that we can't cover, but a lot that we will. Of course, the bigger stories of the week we will get touching on. But I guess we should just get right into the games. I'll go ahead and start. This week, I have my review for Block Quest Maker went up. It's a fun little indie game by a mobile developer who originally released this game for mobile, and it's basically kind of a very infantile version of what you would expect a Zelda maker would be, and that's the comparison that kept coming through my mind again and again and again as I played it. Has neat little voxel graphics, doesn't exactly look the best, but it's bright and shiny enough that I didn't get tired of the look of it. So, but it's the kind of stuff that I want to see from game creators going forward, because there's just a lot of fun stuff that you can do with it, and it's really in depth of the building process. Like, you can hide monsters in blocks and stuff like that. So there's just a lot of imagination out there, and unfortunately the community isn't that imaginative yet, and I don't know if they ever will be, because if people don't play, if you're not going to get the best people on the designing games for this thing, designing levels, designing dungeons, whatever, it's gonna die really quickly. So it's kind of like what happened with Chicken Wiggle after that came out. Not many people bought it. Some of the levels were really good, others were not so good. But so I hope the community does get on it, does give it a shot. It's probably a little overpriced for my taste. At $15 should be maybe half that. But if you have that kind of money sitting around, or if you have just a whole bunch of gold coins not spent in your My Nintendo Club, it's not a bad purchase. Okay, and then the other game, I played this week was Metro Exodus. I had a recent hands-on with that. It launches next month, and I know that what I'm supposed to say, or what I can say and can't say, it's all embargoed right now, but I feel for this podcast that I should just go ahead and just reveal everything. So here we goes. Big jugs.
That's a weird direction that they're taking with that game. I don't... Hey, man, best of luck with that new Metro. I mean, I get you ran out of ideas with the books being kind of caught up now, and go for it, I guess.
So those are the two games that I've played. Let's go to you, Occams. What have you been playing this week?
I have been playing Dragon Quest XI, Age of Eternia, Resonance of Fate, Final Fantasy III. I don't know the subtitle for that. This is my first Dragon Quest game.
That would be Echoes of an Elusive Age. Sure.
Just great. I love the fridge art that they use, the fridge magnets that they use for these things. And it is. I picked it up, or I gameflied it rather, because I kept reading it. It was really good, but it was kind of just a simple kind of return to form of the RPGs that a lot of us grew up with, and I kind of wanted that, especially after I got tired of Fallout 76, and it really is. I'm only, I guess, 8 hours in. But it's just fun, and it's simple and cartoonish, and the music is really well done, and it feels like I'm playing an RPG that is a memory I had of a child. Like, how you remember stuff as a kid, like a really good Saturday morning, and the sun, it's like cartoonishly bright, and all the colors are oversaturated, and everything's perfect. that's kind of what this game feels like when you play it. It's a lot of fun so far. It's not going to like change the way I view RPGs, but it makes me smile, and that's a really nice thing to do, especially when you're an adult and smiling can be difficult some days. So I'm really enjoying it, and of course this will be my buffer until Resident Evil 2 comes out, at which point I will take shots of vodka and shit my pants in terror and glee. So
yeah, I mean my first real Dragon Quest experience was 9 on the DS, and it exactly as you said, it provoked those same ideas of childhood Saturday morning cartoons. Just everything's bright and cheery throughout the entire. I think I spent 80 hours in that game. A lot of post game content in that one, and it's just it's that's what I love about the Dragon Quest series compared to any other JRPG series is that. It doesn't change that much, and each of the games generally have the same uplifting tone, and I appreciate that more than any of these other games that kind of try to go dark. Give me something inspirational, not something terrifying or something that's supposed to make me sad. That's what I love about it. And then when those moments of sadness do hit, I think they hit it harder than if it's just dark, 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 dark. If you have the the little bit of light and then that darkness, it punctuates so much better.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And I love dark games. I love a good sad ending. Don't Look Now is one of my favorite horror movies. Everyone go watch that. I know Chris is probably shaking his head emphatically when he listens to this. But it's one of those things to where you sort of like, if you get like the dark and the burr all the time, you sort of forget that like happy can be a good thing and be just as emotionally engaging and as interesting as the kind of gritty, dark, downer stuff. So yeah, I'm really glad I'm playing it.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great series, and I hope after you play that one, you get a chance to go back and experience some of the older ones. Seeming that Square Enix makes it so easy to get a hold of Dragon Quest games in the West.
I think the only complaint I've heard is the music isn't all that great because it's been minified for whatever reason.
I noticed that. I like it. Like it really it's sort of this Muzak thing going on, but it's really fun to me. But I can understand. I'm in the same boat
where like I went on YouTube and looked it up and it sounded fine to me, but there was a bit of a little stuffle from that.
Is that going to be changed on the Switch version?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I can't imagine. I feel like if they're using MIDI tracks, those are tiny as heck. It'd be perfect for the Switch.
I noticed when I started up the game that the intro is playing and all, and the main orchestral theme is done by I think the Tokyo Philharmonic. It's like that's pretty legit. So it would be nice to see the rest of the soundtrack get that treatment, but there's something to be said for like these little MIDI files that really they take you back to a certain place. But I could get for music people, maybe that's not the greatest thing on earth.
Yeah. Now for me, I can go either way. I mean, Mario, I don't think I can go back to MIDI tracks after hearing everything with the orchestra. It's just so good now. But I think Dragon Quest, pretty much I've only ever heard MIDI tracks from. I've never I can't remember if the Dragon Quest Heroes games had orchestra or not, but my experience has been basically DS, just the DS games through and some of the Wii ones as well, and all of those were MIDI. So Dan, what about you? What have you been up to this week?
I've gone back to the mansion of Resident Evil. Once again, the PlayStation Classic, the Director's Cut, the DualShock version, unfortunately, which has far worse music, but
so you're not playing this on a PlayStation Classic then?
Playing on the PlayStation 3, yeah, the PlayStation Classic version, I guess, or whatever they call those. And it's been an experience, because I feel like those games mechanically have not aged well at all, but I feel it's those mechanics specifically is what makes Resident Evil. Going into a room, dealing with tank controls, not knowing what to expect in each room, and how to even approach certain things is what really makes those games scary.
Yeah.
But since the mechanics are so rough, it's really hard to like even critique that game. Because on one hand, you can go on a rant about like, oh, tank controls suck. But at the same time, it's those tank controls that make those experiences terrifying.
See, that's interesting to me. I have the complete opposite view, where I thought tank controls were garbage and were a product of their time. And I'm glad they're gone. Like I thought, I said on Twitter that the first zombie you encounter in this Resident Evil 2 remake should have a cardboard cardboard sign with tank controls written on it, and you just have like a one-off shotgun blast that just cuts it in half. And the thing that makes Resident Evil to me, it's the atmosphere. Certainly like jump scares, but just all this. I mean, it's like
sure, but I think Resident Evil has lost its identity. It's been trying to find an identity now for a solid decade. It lost it with Resident Evil 4 when it became this weird action thing. As great as Resident Evil 4 was,
and is,
it was a great game. It was detrimental in terms of identity because that series became an action-focused series for pretty much all of the last generation. And now this generation, it's trying to be a horror series again, thanks more or less to indie games bringing back horror. And it did a good job with 7, but now when you're trying to remake 2, and you're bringing what essentially is a modernized control scheme to that style of game, it's not going to be that scary.
Well, it has the possibility to be scary, but I think you are right about that, in that just taking new controls and new camera angles and putting it into that game probably won't make it as scary as it was the last time around. They'll have to do more, because as much as I hate tank controls, what really did it for me in those old Resident Evil games was the camera angles. Because you could
not knowing what to expect.
Yeah, you can do so much.
Opening up a door.
When you walk into that area in the sewers and it goes to the next screen and there are 2 giant spiders on the screen, how do you can't do that with
That's the thing. Resident Evil has always been a survival horror game. Like when you are low on health, you are on that dangerous level of health, the bar is red, you're out of herbs, you're opening the next door and you're watching that little door animation. It's terrifying not knowing what to expect in the next room.
Absolutely.
And Resident Evil 2 was that. And I feel like it's going to be interesting to see how they can maybe capture that and modernize it too.
Yeah. I'll agree with CJ with the camera angles. I forget, it was the first one. And there was one shot and, a hallway, sure. But it was essentially an overhead shot. And there was like an L shape on the hallway. And it really, you can hear the zombie, but you don't really know where it is. And I like the way they handled the camera angles. And I do miss that. But I think where you see it as a loss of identity, I think it's been kind of an evolution. And I agree. I love 4, and I think 4 was an amazing game, still is an amazing game. 5 and 6 had their moments, not that great in a lot of ways, and they went too heavy on the action. But for me, I guess I see it as more as an evolution of the series. Yeah. That when it tries things, sometimes it fails, sometimes it succeeds. I think with the remake, it's a good question of how do you capture that kind of cinematic early feel with the camera angles very focused and tight into a game where the camera's over your shoulder, it's a little more actiony. I think they can do it. And I haven't played the demo yet. Honestly, I'm saving it like the last slice of pizza in the box. I'm kind of saving it for as long as can. I have watched a video of it, and it looks fantastic to me. It looks terrifying and unpleasant in so many ways. But I can understand your criticisms. I still think, and I will always think, tank controls are just the fucking worst. And I'm glad they're gone.
Now, I haven't watched any video of the demo that's out right now, but is it just at the Raccoon City Police Station?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the same one I played at E3. Really good demo, and it does a lot there are a lot of horror moments in that generally made me kind of, made my skin crawl. I wrote about how I almost shit my pants playing it. So early on in that, there are some effective scares, but hopefully when you think back to all of the moments that were scary because of the camera angles, hopefully they find new ways to still make that just as frightening with the new camera system, with the new way that you get around in the game. Like another one I was just thinking of was in Nemesis, again with the spiders. When you're going up the stairs, I can't remember when in the game, I think it's near the end, but you're going up a flight of stairs and it's just this one hallway dark and you could just hear them at the top of the stairs. And it's just, like you said, with the L shape on the zombie, you can't see them, but you can hear them. That's exactly what it is. You could hear them, couldn't see them. I threw down the controller and never played that game again. I did not want to get to the top of those stairs.
That's fair. One of my favorite moments, that was the first Resident Evil, was you're in the art gallery and the camera is set up to where it's up at the ceiling. And
it shows those damn crows.
The crows just sitting and they're kind of squawking and they're looking at you, but they're mostly just being crows. But you're like, all right, fuck those crows. Like, I know that's some shit right there that I got to deal with. I don't want to go in this room. I love those moments of tension they would build before you even interacted with any part of the environment. And that was fun.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I also am not crazy about tank controls. I still insist the best way to play Resident Evil is to play the remake with modernized control scheme. That is the go-to way. I'm just curious how they'll capture those moments again in 2. So
right, and really,
I think that's a great question. Yeah, absolutely.
And this is a problem that pretty much all horror games that started out on the PlayStation 1 have to deal with, because they all kind of took from Resident Evil. Something like Silent Hill, had the same thing with camera angles in it. And when they go to full 3D, when you really try and modernize it, can they keep the scares? And I think with 7, Resident Evil has done it better than any other horror franchise has. I'm a huge fan of Silent Hill Homecoming, but I know it's not nearly as scary as it could possibly be. Or not Homecoming. Nope. Yeah. Nope, wrong one. Shattered Memories.
I feel like a lot of that stemmed from somebody at Capcom played the PT demo, and when they saw the whole cancellation stuff go down, they went, oh, let's capitalize. Because I remember still playing the first Resident Evil 7 demo and getting those PT vibes from it.
Yeah.
And just wanting so much of that. And it delivered.
Oh, that demo was so good.
I'm curious to see if, after the remake, they're probably going to do one for Resident Evil 3, but going forward, the next Resident Evil, the next mainline game, if they'll keep that style, that first-person style.
I guess we'll have to see probably on the next generation consoles.
Which is the potential there. It makes me smile very, very widely.
On that note, though, I am kind of excited for a Resident Evil 3 remake. Just because, the scares from that game are all about Nemesis chasing you down. And I think, in a modern sense, they could do so much with that.
So pulling a fucking Kool-Aid man jumping through the goddamn wall.
Yeah, I think the potential of Resident Evil 3 remake is huge. So I'm very excited for that.
I did just play through Viviette, I think that's how you pronounce it, that indie horror game that kind of, it had its own version of Nemesis, which was your girlfriend ghost following you around everywhere. And the way that game did it, it stopped being scary after the first 5 minutes. So I know in Nemesis, it still kind of lost its effect after a while, but it still managed to put a chill in. When I had no ammo left and I heard him coming, that was when I was the most terrified. So,
Yeah, and I think the little small rooms and the loading sequences between those rooms and not knowing what to expect added to that. So once again, it'll be interesting to see how they can potentially modernize that.
Yeah, absolutely.
With everything being so, the loading... The era of loading times and loading screens is kind of gone now. It's all cleverly hidden behind things now. So,
I think that's where you get into atmosphere building. Certainly, I'm going to say set design, but that's not the right word. But y'all know what I mean with how the world is presented to you. I think this to really overcome what you're talking about in terms of presentation and the loading screen, which I completely agree with. I love that shit. It's going to be a lot of sound. I think it's going to be really important. I think these are the kind of games where you do yourself a disservice unless you play them with some headphones to really get the full experience. I didn't play with headphones for a long time and got a pair a few years ago just on a whim, and it changed my gaming experience completely. I can't do it without headphones now.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm always playing a game with headphones.
Have you played Resident Evil before, Dan? The original?
Yeah. I've personally dabbled in the series a couple of years ago. About 4 or 5 years ago, I jumped into them, and I played through Resident Evil 1 through 5 or so. I haven't played 6 yet, but I don't think I'll even get around to 6, honestly.
I've been waiting for a sale on 5 and 6 on the PlayStation Store to get down to maybe $5 each, and then I'll play them. But yeah, no, I've played 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica 4, and then a part of 7. I still need to work my way through 7.
I'll say this about 6. It's a difficult game to this is really scary. It isn't. But the creature design in 6 is really some of the best in the series. They went hard on a kind of a John Carpenter's The Thing vibe to it. Some really cool creatures and moments. That the big dumb thing with the buzzsaw hand and the looks like a Slipknot mask for a face was a little silly, but the zombie design I thought was really strong. And it's an okay game.
I loved Resident Evil 5 just for Albert Wesker in general. Albert Wesker is he is so something in that game. It's great.
Yeah, he's it's like the Mortal Kombat 2, the movie.
Albert Wesker in the movies, by the way, is the best movie character from the Resident Evil games.
I love
playing Albert Wesker in the movies. Nailed it.
Oh god, he's such a stiff, horrible actor, but I can't stop watching him just because
Yeah.
He just
you're
went
right. He
full-blown
catches
cheese.
it.
He
He
just
catches it so
accepted it.
perfectly.
He's like the. Go ahead.
he is a wooden plank that they put a hairpiece on and put on screen. That is his effectiveness.
He's like the protean, like bad guy from a ski resort '80s movie, like like the lead counselor or whatever. He's just, oh, it's so great.
I love Wester. Hope he comes back.
Me too.
He's definitely said at one point in his life, "My father will never let you ski on this mountain again."
Yeah,
like that's
absolutely.
definitely something that's come out of his mouth. Okay, let's go ahead and get to the news. There was quite a bit this week. Like I said last week, we didn't really have anything this week. Our cup runneth over. There's so much we can't talk about or just don't have time to talk about. Dragon's Dogma coming to Switch later this year for a budget price. I'm super excited about that. Have any of you guys played that before?
I
Hell
did on
yeah.
the PlayStation 3. I platinumed that game. It's probably the only reason I haven't come back to it is because I played through that game to 100% completion, like a good solid 100 hours, and playing that on the PS3 was rough. The frame rate was real bad, and that's probably my only worry about the Switch port is it tanked hard on the PS3, like down to single digits, and I'm curious how the Switch will handle it.
Well, maybe that's why it's a budget priced. It'll be like Skyrim, where there are bugs in the Switch version that were in the original version.
I played I don't know how many hours, but a lot of hours, and my little midget wizard lady looked like Zelda Rubinstein from the Poltergeist movies. It was great. It's such a fun title, and I'm so excited for Switch owners, and like it's someone who is definitely going to pick up a Switch probably in the next 18 months. It's to see these titles come out in a way that I could like put them in a backpack, and if I'm traveling, or have to sit somewhere for a while. It's so cool that these kind of games are coming out. It's a wonderful game. I'm so excited for people who've never played it before because it's such a cool, unique experience. And great, again, the monster design in that, like their take on the Chimera, the dragon, goats, lion head. Yeah, that's with the snake tail. That shit's so cool. That's so much fun to fight.
Dragon fights in general are the best in Dragon's Dogma. Like, It's just so incredible, like hopping on a back of a dragon and watching it fly off with you still on the dragon.
Okay, so other stories that happened this week. We're not going to talk about. Nintendo games are on Humble Store for some reason, and they're all full priced, and apparently none of the money's going to charity. That's pointless. At this point, you might as well just change your name to Hubris instead of Humble. And then Red Dead Online has a Battle Royale mode of 32. Dan, you play that. Have you played that mode yet?
I did. It's okay. Like, it's the 32 player aspect makes it super quick.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about some of the locations. One of the locations is Saint Denis or Saint Denis. I'm sure how to pronounce that city. I apologize. And it's super cluttered. I don't know where anybody. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the. I just don't think the map is really that built all that well for it. But we'll see how it evolves. I'm not sure. Like Red Dead Online it's running out of content. It's really drying up for me. I have pretty much all the guns I could want, all the clothing I could want. I'm fine with the horse I have, so I'm finding myself to have very little reason to even keep playing that thing.
No, I read online that one of the areas you have this Battle Royale mode in is an ice detainment center. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, that's something.
Okay, so for the three big stories of the week, we'll start off with I think this happened on Monday. Soldier 76 is officially LGBTQ. In a short story released online, Blizzard revealed Soldier 76 is the second member of the cast to be LGBTQ. In a story titled Bastet, Anna made reference to an old companion of Jack named Vincent, who, although they were together, it seems like Jack chose his career while Vincent went and got married to a lady and had kids. We've known for a long time, I think they said very early in the Overwatch, since we've known about it, that there's going to be LGBTQ queer members of the cast. We known that, oh shit, her name just escaped me. Who's
the Tracer?
Thank you. Tracer is, I don't know if it was fully gay or fully lesbian or bisexual, but now Jack is. There was most of the stuff that I saw online was supportive of it. I saw some people give the typical oh, I'm not going to play as him anymore, blah, 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 just ruin the game. I saw much more people responding to those comments than I did see of those comments.
No, I think part of it too is even out of all those comments where it's like, oh, I'm not playing as the gay guy or whatever. I couldn't give you a number, but I would budget that a healthy number of those are just to fuck with people, just to troll, and probably either don't care or just making it up. Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, certainly these people exist. I mean, I was born in Mississippi, so I know all too well that there are people out there who would say, well, this is a gay character, I can't play as them anymore. But I mean, it's like smokers now. You see, and you're like, fuck off. It's they're not in the majority or even the norm, which is a wonderful thing. So it's I thought it was cool. I read a comment online said, okay, well, so he's gay. How do you bring that into the game itself? And I don't know if you do. I kind of like that Blizzard has this story stuff, this world they built up around the characters and the comics and all these different things, and then you just play the game. And and you have you like these characters, you know their backstory as you're playing, but it's not like Jack. What's his name? Soldier 76. Yeah. Whatever his real name is. Jack Steve something. There you go, Jack something. Not like Jack something. I was like, no, I'll never love another man again. I'm dead. It's just kind of a game, and they die and they respawn, and you unlock cool skins.
I think for me, the most surprising thing out of this news wasn't that Soldier 76 is gay. It's that Overwatch has a lead writer. That shocked me, because there seems to be not very much writing going on in that game. So for them to have a lead writer, and for his job apparently is just these small little side stories. I don't even think they make the comic anymore. So it's just the fact that there is someone in that game whose their responsibility is the lead writer of it. That was the most surprising aspect to me.
Well, I wonder if they're the lead writer, but so they write a thing and it has to go through God knows how many committees, rewrites to look at. I wonder if their output is pretty good, but they have to filter it through so much to get a final product, since the company is so big and the Overwatch is such a big thing that it just takes a long time.
Well,
it's drip fed.
I was reading the Overwatch wiki after this. I just went down to a rabbit hole, as you do with the internet, and there was supposed to be a comic book that they were going to make that talked about. And I wish I wrote down the name of the war, but it's the big war that kind of started the whole Overwatch team. And then they canceled that because they didn't want the future of the Overwatch timeline, the future stories that they tell, to be beholden to this one story. So they just canceled that altogether. So I imagine, there's probably a lot of hoops he has to jump through in order to get even one story told.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of I imagine it's a show like The Good Place. Bear with me here. To where we're watching the full. We've seen everything. We're caught up. And if you go to episode 1 versus where they are now, and they plot these season by season, that there's a dry erase board somewhere in an office building that's 9 feet by 9 feet. That's just this flow chart, Venn diagram, everything you like a beautiful mind sort of setup of connecting dots to plant seeds for future stuff. And I'd imagine it's the same thing with Overwatch.
It was a great show for that. Arrested Development.
Yep.
Go back and watch Buster Bluth favor his left hand, or was it his right hand? Whichever one he loses, and they're just planting the seeds for that joke back in the first season. It's so freaking great.
Go everyone, just watch Arrested Development. Even if you already seen it, watch it again.
That too. The second big story of the week, we learned that Bungie has jumped ship and will publish Destiny on its own going forward. Activision and Bungie announced they were going their separate ways. Bungie is retaining the publishing rights to Destiny. They already own the rights to the IP, with the end goal of their publishing would be to publish the franchise by themselves going forward. Just some little facts we have about Destiny. It was rumored that Destiny cost Activision $500 million to make and market. Bungie has another deal worth $100 million with mobile giant NetEase. This is rumored to be a game separate from Destiny. And then according to Jason Schreier, employees of Bungie cheered when the news was announced. That does not really paint Activision in a good light.
No, it doesn't at all.
Not at all.
My only real worry is it too little too late? I don't know. I feel like Destiny, in terms of whenever I hear anything about Destiny, it's been negative.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious to see what they didn't even do at this point. And if the next step is a $100 million mobile game, hey, you know what? Recent events will tell you that ain't gonna go well.
No, I mean they would have to announce that game alongside Destiny 3 just to avoid any Diablo type blowback.
I don't think they have a lot to lose, though. I mean, they've they don't have a lot of favor with the community. I think there's a hardcore group of Destiny players out there, and I will load up the game every once in a while, and there's some merit to it, and I enjoy it. But it's very pretty, and it gets very dull very quickly, especially if you don't play with other people like I don't. But I don't think they have a lot to lose. If they announce a mobile game, people don't like Destiny already. So, I mean, if a mobile game comes out, there's nothing, their skin off their back with it. I think Destiny 3 could be a redemption for them, but I think Too Little Too Late's a really good point, because it's, even I, like, over the time, like, yeah, the game is this and that and this, but the shooting's so good and blah, blah, blah. And now it's like, yeah, I don't really care that much anymore. So, Destiny 3, it'd have to be kind of a Hail Mary pass. And it could be. I hope it is, because, again, I have a weird soft love for Destiny for some reason.
I'm sure Epic Games is probably eyeing that up and paying very close attention to all of that. So
probably
getting Destiny 3 on their launcher would be probably pretty big.
And really, I think Bungie has a community that gives them the benefit of the doubt, because they built up such a strong base with the Halo series, and then moved into Destiny, and everyone gave Destiny a shot. And even like you just said, Occams, Destiny is kind of a game you want to like. I think a lot of people feel that way, and I don't know. I think it's more hopeful going forward that without Activision attached to it, whatever input Activision had into that game, we'll probably find out from a Jason Schreier article in 4 years.
Yeah. If you do some digging to the original Destiny, and you look at Destiny E3 builds, I'm talking about the first base game.
Yeah.
And you look at a lot of early E3 builds, and you see all of the story content that was then cut, I assume, because of an Activision call. I am very curious to see what Activision had to say in both those games, and how those shaped up, and how it might shape up differently now in 3.
Yeah. And really, also, where does this leave Activision? I mean, for its part, it hasn't really done a lot of IP developing over the past several years. From 2011 on, it was basically just Destiny, Skylanders, and Call of Duty. They did have some licensed games, but those pretty much all stopped in 2015, 2016. Skylanders, we haven't seen a new entry in since 2016, I believe. Maybe 2017, the port that was on Switch. And then Destiny, they no longer own. So what are they going to do? Because as of right now, it just kind of seems like it's all Call of Duty. They have 10 studios, or 11 studios, one that focuses on middleware. So 10 studios developing games. And pretty much for the past several years, those 10 studios have been around those 3 franchises. It's only really recently with the Spyro remakes and the Crash Bandicoot remakes that they've started to, branch out to something that wasn't those 3 franchises. I know they have the Crash Team Racing remake coming this year, and I didn't realize that's coming to Xbox One and Nintendo Switch. I thought that was a PlayStation 4 exclusive, but I'm looking forward to that, because PlayStation 4 needs a good kart racer. But I mean, like, what are they going to do? I mean, because this is a company that lost the Marvel license, that made, can you name the last good Marvel game that came out of Activision? I mean, you have to go back to the GameCube era. So it'll be, for me, I think Bungie will be okay. It'll be interesting to see what Activision does going forward.
I think Activision, though, Activision have fuck you money.
They do.
They have more fuck you money than probably anybody else in the industry.
I think they were the most profitable video game company of the last few years.
Yeah, so, like, logically, they're probably just going to look for some up-and-coming developers, gobble them up, and get them to work on some new IPs. At least that'd be the best call. It
definitely seems weird that they don't have more homegrown IPs that they're exploring. Something like Ubisoft is just every year or every other year they're debuting a new IP. Starlink last year.
I get the vibe
2 years
that they
before
just don't care all
Honor.
that much about that stuff. Like, they've been so comfortable in the position they've been in now for so long that maybe it just really hasn't dawned on them. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I mean, they got enough room to swing a big dick around, so there's not really need to branch out. I think if they've got fuck you money, then they should just shotgun it throw it against the wall, see what sticks. If it fails, they can take a hit.
Yeah, just gobble up some small developers, see what new ideas they have, and I don't know, hope for the best.
They probably should have bought a lot of those THQ properties a few years ago.
They really should have.
Yeah.
Who owns the Space Marine one right now? Do we know? I'm just a big 40K nerd, and I just want another great.
I think that's Sega.
Game.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's the Warhammer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's Creative Assembly, and Sega owns. I think that's Sega.
Well, I guess I can look forward to more iPad games that are terrible.
Yes. Also, we can look forward to people in the comments telling us it's not Sega if I'm incorrect there.
That's fine.
Hey, go ahead.
I would say the Kinks are objectively better than the Beatles, so have fun with that. They are, by the way. I
could have sworn I heard something along the lines of like, yeah, we'll let any developer really make a Warhammer 40K game, I guess. Like, I heard that license was just like up for grabs, essentially.
Yeah. It's like the running joke I heard was like, it's also you can get it in boxes of oh my god, that buttery popcorn stuff that no one's eaten in 40 years, but they still have the prizes in it. Jack in the Box,
Cracker
Jacks. Yeah.
Jack in the Box.
Well, it was a train of thought. I got there eventually.
Yeah. So the last big story, this one just came out over the weekend, and we're going to be very careful on how we talk about this so we don't open ourselves up to libel lawsuits. Kotaku got the scoop on a new lawsuit being filed against Randy Pitchford and Gearbox. For context, here is a quick recap of the events. In November 2018, Gearbox filed a lawsuit against former in-house counsel Wade Callender for borrowing money he did not pay back and using company credit card for personal expenses, including the hilarious trying to get six-pack abs. In December last month, Callender retaliated with a lawsuit of his own. In it, he accuses Pitchford of funneling $12 million into his personal Entertainment Media Magic LLC when that money should have gone to work on Borderlands franchise. More salaciously, he accused Pitchford of using money to throw parties where older men would expose themselves to children, something you can see every day on the street of San Francisco, and of leaving a USB drive with top secret company files and a video of underage pornography at a medieval times restaurant. Now, a lot of what's being said is hearsay right now, so we're not going to comment on whether these allegations are true or not. However, there are things we do know. For one, Randy Pitchford loves porn. He loves to talk about porn. The existence of the USB drive was proven by Pitchford himself. Ars Technica found a magic podcast, a podcast hosted by a magician that Pitchford is on, apparently the day after the lawsuit was filed by Callender, where he talks about the USB drive and the video, which was of a, quote, barely 18 girl ejaculating, which Pitchford described as a magic trick. Sorry, women. Apparently that's magic now. So he went on to a magician's podcast and talked about his love of porn. And you might also remember, I think it was a year or two ago, he tweeted about the Battleborn Rule 34 subreddit not long after it popped up on Reddit. So
him and him alone.
Yes, him and him alone. So he definitely has a thing for porn, and he is not afraid to share it. Also, we know that Gearbox is no stranger to allegations of financial malfeasance. You might recall in the aftermath of Aliens Colonial Marines, several posts went up on Reddit accusing the company of taking money from that game and putting it into the Borderlands 2. And there was a whole allegations of whether Gearbox actually worked on it, how much they worked on it, how much was done by a third party. Although if they're a third-party developer, I guess that makes them a fourth party. So this is not a company that is without controversy. And there's a lot of people all have their own opinions on what's going on. Obviously, it's best just to wait for the trial to make any final judgment. But this is a terrible way to start off 2019. We lose the captain, and now we have to write the sentence, man talked about porn on Magic Podcast, and it's only the second week of January.
And just to clarify, CJ, you're talking about the captain from Captain and Tennille.
Yes, the captain from Captain and Tennille. Just that was a dark January 2nd when we just lost 3 people in a row.
His last name is Dragon, by the way. Just want to point that out.
His name.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, this is not a good look. This is not a good look for anyone. This doesn't give me hope for Borderlands 3. it's almost like, what do you make of this? More importantly, what do you make of this without getting us sued?
The one like tangible, like on paper, factually proven, corroborated detail that sticks in my mind, like a hot iron jabbed into my side, is downloading porn onto a thumb drive, and then losing said thumb drive at a medieval times. And all I can think is Darksiders 3. That's just written in the sky in gossamer teardrops. It's just right there screaming at you. I mean, and that's all I have to say about it.
There's a million questions on why anyone would go to a medieval times restaurant. I assume entertaining family, because that seems to be the only reason why you'd ever want to go to those and carry your top secret company USB drive with you. Yeah, or like a homeschooled kid graduates from high school and goes to Branson, for a trip. I mean, that was another one. But then, as Dan brought up before the show, there's the whole question on how long did Calendar know about the video? Because that's if you saw someone with a video and then you thought it was underage pornography and you didn't immediately tell someone, you're basically the Joe Paterno to their Jerry Sandusky. And I feel like that will be a question immediately addressed in this lawsuit to see why. And Randy Pitchford himself, Gearbox released a statement, but then he went on Twitter and released his own statement, or he tweeted out, as a father, I find crimes against children to be especially repugnant. It's very painful that a former friend and colleague would lie to try and associate me with such vile behavior in his own greedy pursuit of money. Can we stop saying as a father when it comes to crimes against children or women, as a husband, as someone who knows a girl? Like, you don't need any of those qualifiers. I am not a father. I still think it's pretty disgusting. Yeah, the other thing, too, to note is that the man who has a coffee mug that says badass on it, we should clarify that this guy, he is denying everything. Yes. He denies all of it. Absolutely. I think that's about it for the show. I didn't have any big topics this week, but before we go, we have our Podtoid question of the week.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
No, I'm sorry. That is not the Podtoid question of the week. This week's question actually comes from me. Yesterday, I was at a work function, and I was driving home, and as I was on the freeway, I looked to my right and saw a sign for a restaurant called Taste of Detroit. My question to you is, what city possibly has a worse taste than the city of Detroit? First of all, what does Detroit taste like? God. Salt and poverty. I think, go ahead. I was going to say unemployed auto workers. I mean, Detroit is not anywhere that I think of for food. What am I going to go to Detroit to get? Detroit, all I think about when I think about Detroit, and have never been, I think there's a lot of people trying to fix it up, so kudos to them. Yes. But all I think about is this really neat article I read a while back about a aquarium they had that was all like Art Deco and crazy that closed down when Detroit kind of went bust in a lot of ways, and it was sort of like urban explorer kind of thing. And it was just really, really, it looked like a slice of rapture that was, real. So I think about that. But I guess in terms of what it would taste like, whatever. Okay, so you remember at the end of Blair Witch Project when they go in the cabin, the house? Yes. Like whatever, right when the lady was walking down the stairs before she took a nap, whatever that room smelled like is probably what Detroit tastes like. That's pretty good. Okay, so what city do you think would taste worse than Detroit? Oh, Jacksonville, Florida. Really? Yeah. Like a deep fried tanning lotion. Probably a lot of pins that don't work properly. And just the air kind of tastes like spit. Oh, God. Am I allowed to go global with my answer? Absolutely. It doesn't have to be a U.S. city. And also, you're Canadian, so it'll probably be a Canadian city. Yeah, no, actually, no. Oh. I'm going to go with Pyongyang of North Korea. I'm sure that's pronounced. Pyongyang, whatever. Because it's extra salty, extra impoverished. Yeah, it's Detroit, but far worse. I imagine that Pyongyang just tastes like cement. Like, that's all people eat there with their fake fruit. Yeah, salt, cement, and fate 7-Eleven food. For my money, I initially want to say San Francisco because it's certainly the worst smelling city I've ever been to.
There's apps to avoid that smell.
I've been to the sulfur flats of Rotorua, and it does not hold a candle to the human shit and also drug, the smell of meth that I smell every day getting off the train in San Francisco.
I would invite you
because of like the housing crisis there in general. Like,
sure,
it's probably a lengthy topic, but
that's one of them. But it still smells.
The homeless problem is pretty big in San Fran, huh?
Oh yeah. Just gigantic. Everywhere, every single street corner, everywhere. But I'm now going to go with Bakersfield. I think Bakersfield would be the worst tasting city in the world. It would just taste like heat, death, and sand.
Yeah. I would invite you, by the way, for a smell off because life's not tough enough already. Please go to New Orleans in August. It smells like if a tomb had a crotch. That's what it smells like.
All right, that is it for today's show. But before we go, we want to let you know that now we are on iTunes and Google Play. You will find links at the bottom of the article that you can go and subscribe to us there. We're also going to start uploading onto YouTube if enough people still listen to it that way. So you guys, you'll now no longer just have to be beholden to these articles. You can follow along with us every week. We should have new episodes every single Monday, right around 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. But before we go, there's that. And also, Occams, you got something you want to say?
Yeah, I want to give a community shout out. User Ninja Sped, SPPED. I'm going to say Sped. I like that better. He wrote a community blog called Opening Up, just talking about his time on Destructoid, what it means to him, and it really it resonated with me. It reminded me just why I love this community so much, why y'all are such good people, and everyone should go read it. It's up on the community blogs, so worth your time. So thank you, Ninja, for writing that beautiful blog.
Awesome, sounds great, and we will talk to you guys next week.